Welcome to Andy Nicole's podcast. Please like, share and subscribe.
Welcome to Andy Nicole's podcast. Press like and subscribe.
Welcome to Andy Nicole's. Sit back and enjoy. As we dive deeper down into the rabbit hole and into the unknown. Where the paranormal becomes normal.
Hello, welcome to today's show where I'm joined by Nicole, none of the others. I don't know if they're at birthday parties or still hungover, I couldn't tell you. And our guest today is a wonderful Vic Cundiff. Welcome to the show. Now, for those who don't know, Vic has numerous podcasts. My Bigfoot Encounters, or My Bigfoot Experience, My Paranormal Experience, and the one that everyone should know, Dogman Encounters Radio. So welcome to the show, Vic.
Well, thanks so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Absolute pleasure, as always. So, Nicole, have you sorted your equipment? Or is it still not? It's getting there. It's getting there. Right. So
my laptop, and it's taking forever to get into StreamYard.
Yeah, I changed the server and it's just gone wrong, so I'm not doing that again. Right. So I was talking to Vic, saying nice things about Nicole before we came on air. No, it was. I wasn't even mentioning it. That was the best bit. Right. So I got sent this by my cousin, who lives up in Manchester. Now he goes fishing in a smallish town called Wigan up in Lancashire, and one of the lads that was there sent in this photograph of what is some sort of dog print. Now the story behind it was he was night fishing. He was around this lake, and he was sat in his tent or his bivvy, and a deer come flying through and ran straight through where he was sat and completely took it out. Now something was chasing it. He waited a while before he went in to have a look what was going on, and he took a photograph of this. And apparently, there isn't anything to work out the exact size, but apparently this is the size of a human hand, adult hand. Now straight away I can see it's not a cat print because cats retract the claws, and you can see the claw marks up at the top. So in comparison, that is same size as my hand or thereabouts. So I just wanted to ask Vic, through encounters and people contacting him, obviously sending pictures and stories and that, how does this compare to any other images that you've received?
Well, see, that's the thing. I've seen so many prints over the years. I mean, tons and tons of them.
Yeah.
It just really blurs together. But yeah, I wish they would have put something in that picture for scale. I can appreciate the fact that they said that's about the size of a human hand, but what size human hand? I mean, I've got
Oh,
hands
yeah.
compared to the average person's hand. It would really help a lot if there's something in that picture for scale. But understand, I know you don't have any wolves over there, but wolves, their prints can be huge, a lot bigger than most people would think, 5-6 inches across. So if you see a print that big, it's all too easy to say, whoa, that's too big to be a naturally occurring print from a normal animal. So it's really hard to say. I wish I could make out the details in that print better, but because the mud at the bottom of the print is pretty much the same texture and color as the mud around the print, it makes it really difficult.
Yeah. See, I was hoping, like, even when you zoom in, I know it's difficult because grasses are different length, but I was hoping that I could compare it to the size of the grass. I know it sounds so stupid. It must, that probably one of the most ridiculous things I've ever said, but you could roughly judge the length of them bits of grass at the top right. But it's just, this was taken, I think it was about 3 a.m. So, and he didn't, as far as I know, he didn't want to go back out there because he thought it was a big cat. And it wasn't until because I sent the photo, and that's when it explained about the claws. So it is difficult to tell, and we don't have wolves in that part of the UK.
From what I could make out from that print, it definitely doesn't look like it even could be a large dog print. Dog prints normally, if you look at the claws, they'll normally splay more. If you look at a dog print, a big dog print, compared to a wolf print, you'll notice that wolf prints tend to be rounder, and also the claws tend to point straight forward. It's almost like their claws have a purpose. Their claws, if you pay attention to it, their claws are going to normally point straight forward. With a big dog, you're going to notice the outer claws especially are going to have like a splay to them, I guess is a good way to explain it. And then the print's going to be more of an kind of like an oval shape compared to the rounder shape of a wolf print. So from
claws kind of go in the ground like that. If you imagine the tips of the claw, they're more down than sticking out, don't they?
It looks like that might be the case. I don't want to jump to conclusions on that, but
no.
As far as the looking straight down at the print, though, dog claws are going to, on the outer toes, that is, they're going to kind of point out more towards the sides rather than straight forward, like a wolf would, or another wild canid. Coyotes, wolves, any wild canid, their outer claws are going to point straight forward. But dogs, the outer claws are going to be splayed, kind of pointing out to the sides a little bit. Enough to definitely notice. But looking at this print, if I'm seeing what I think I'm seeing, it looks like the outer claws are still pointing straight forward, which would definitely indicate a wild canid.
You're muted again, Nicole. She's broke the internet. Oh, can I hear you now?
Okay, I accidentally hit the button. Would you think it would be from a wolf-dog hybrid?
Well, see, that's the thing also. If we were there to take a look at it, or if they had taken a picture from a distance, we could see the pattern. Is there a pattern that shows left, right, left, or left, left, right, right, left, left? A quadruped's going to leave that left, left, right, right, left, left pattern on the ground. If that creature's walking bipedally, you're going to see left, right, left, right. So, yeah, there's information that was there that wasn't gathered and shared with you, Andy, that would tell us more about the big picture, but maybe they're not, maybe they haven't done this very long. It's hard to say.
Well, they was out fishing, and they this day that had ran through, he'd just gone, like, I don't know if it was minutes or hours later, he'd gone to see, probably minutes, he'd gone to see what was chasing it through there. And as he's walking with his torch, he's seen that print, so he took a photograph, and that was it. That is the only backstory that I've got to that.
Oh, I see. Well, you're talking about a layperson who doesn't do this for a living or a hobby. They just saw the print, took a photo, and yeah, they can't be blamed for that. They just didn't know the best way to do this to collect evidence.
So what would be the best way? Like if somebody's out in the woods and they see a print, how would you suggest they get the best evidence to present to you?
Well, take notes of the ground structure. Is it really soupy mud that it was taken in? You can see a picture like that and think it's really soupy mud when in fact it's muddy, but the mud has more of a consistency to it where it's not all that soft. Document how the ground structure is, number one. Put something in the photo next to the print for scale, a dollar bill, a credit card, whatever. But yeah, document the scale of it by putting something in the photo next to the print, and then step back and take photos. If you can photograph more than one print in the same picture, then that's always good, because if you can do that, that should let us know if it's left, right, or if it's left, right. That right there will let you know. Are we talking about a quadruped or a creature that was walking bipedally? So things like that would definitely help.
Thank you for that.
Yeah, it's good to keep in mind when people are out in the woods.
Yeah. And also, it doesn't hurt to put your own footprint right next to it. Well, maybe not right next to it, but close enough to it so that it can be captured in the same substrate. You know, if the ground where the original print is a little wetter than, say, a couple of feet over, then no, you want to make sure that your print is in the same soil, that's in the same condition as where that original print is, so you can compare depth. Now, if that print was left at a different time, hours and hours before you arrive, and it was raining out when that print was left, that can obviously affect how deep the print was going to be made. But still, if you can have something like that to kind of help us judge how heavy was the being that left that print, that would help.
Yeah, it makes
and
sense.
the thing that got me is whatever was chasing this day, whatever it was that left the print, didn't venture on once it knew that this guy was there fishing. Because obviously it startled the bloke that was there, so he's probably jumped up and gone, what the hell's going on, or worse to that effect. And whatever's there has either gone off to the side or backtracked, because otherwise he would have seen it. But he said he didn't see anything or hear anything. Now, if that had been a dog, a domestic dog, or even a domestic dog that's gone off in the wild, it'd be snarling or barking or making some sort of noise. But he didn't recall any sound that was coming from there.
Yeah. It just might have been a dog, man, but I'm not one of those people that jumps in. I don't think either of you are either, but yeah, I never have been one of those people that jumps to the conclusion automatically that if you find something that points towards the possibility it might be a dogman you're dealing with, that's what it was. I mean, odds are it was something else that would easily explain that away, but yeah, it might have been a dogman.
It's that possibility that keeps everybody going.
Yeah,
that's right.
Mm-hmm.
And I know if I ever go fishing, it's never going to be there because I'm not that brave. Sorry?
Just take your camera with you if you go.
Yeah. So I'll just set the camera up at the trail cam and then leave and go back a week after.
Yeah.
That's about it. But the area where it was taken, there have been other sightings of bipedal creatures there. Not going to say Bigfoot or a Dogman, but them like the UK. I don't know UK version to them, or they could even have been Bigfoot and Dogman. And that's not a place too far called Pennington Flash. I don't know if you've heard of it.
I haven't. No.
So yeah, that's like it's got like a park for kids and grass, and there's you have ice cream vans there and a couple of lakes and a bit of a woods and that. But people have had encounters in there as well, and that is literally, I'd say, probably 2-3 miles away from where the place where this guy was fishing. So sorry, I'm just going through. Which one, Nicole? Sorry.
The one was it a farm?
Oh, I think I've shown him. I've not got it anymore on here.
There's
Did I? So,
a Dogman picture that
yes.
is a little controversial.
Yeah. So I don't know if you remember, Vic, but when you came on last time, it was probably about 18 months ago. Did I show you that image that somebody sent me of a goblin dogman troll-like creature from Cannock Chase in the UK?
No, I don't think you did.
Right. If you can bear with me, I'll see if I can find it and I can upload it onto here. If that's okay.
Sure.
Nicole, do you want to check any questions on that? I know Joe's put something up in the chat as well.
Yeah. So I have a question. What do you consider a dogman to be? Is it flesh and blood? Is it something natural? Something other dimensional?
Huh, if I only had a nickel for every time someone's asked me that. That's $1 million question. If you do what I do for any period of time, it's only natural you're going to bounce back and forth from. At one moment, being convinced these guys have to be flesh and blood. But then the next thing you know, you talk with so many credible eyewitnesses who report so many supernatural qualities where you think they have to be from the ether. If you think about it, how could a flesh and blood creature... Okay, let's take someone who's on vacation in Maine. They have an encounter with a dogman this one afternoon. They freak out, hop on a plane, fly home to Miami that afternoon. And then the next morning, they go out back behind their house and encounter the exact same dogman they encountered up in Maine the day before. There's no way to explain that away as being a flesh and blood creature. But then again, there are so many credible eyewitnesses who report seeing these guys drinking nasty water out of stagnant, moss-covered ponds, eating fetid roadkill, and they see them with young. So many things that point towards them being flesh and blood. So you just bounce back and forth between being convinced it's one case, and then before you know it, you think it's the other case that explains it.
Yeah, that's the way that I feel about it. We go back and forth on spirits, on Dogman, Bigfoot. Just, half a dozen one way, half a dozen the other.
Yeah. I know what that's like.
And every person you talk to, every, new information that comes out changes your views again.
Yeah, it does. It's a vicious cycle, isn't it?
Yeah. Do you have one case that has really shifted your perspective on what the Dogman is?
Not really, because I realize even if there was one that did that it's just a short matter of time before another one comes around that turns my paradigm around again. So, yeah, it's paralysis via overanalysis. I've been exposed to so many different encounters that have so many different qualities to them that... yeah, it's really hard to nail down one way of looking at these guys. It really is.
Yeah. Joe has a question. Does Vic believe in the werewolf as in man to wolf and back?
No, I don't. But there's a qualification with that, though. I don't believe in werewolves, but I'm not so arrogant as to say that there's no way they could be reality. Because... when you look at so many crazy things about this world that are out there, how could you say anything with a lot of resolution and say, nope, definitely, this can't be the case. This definitely can't be out there. I just don't believe in that. But I will tell you that I don't believe they're out there. They could be out there, but I don't believe they are.
Yeah, makes sense.
Thank you for that. Right, I've got the pictures. I've got one of the original ones, and I've got a zoomed-in one. So I'll put the... everyone in the chat hates this because I just used to put it up so much. So this is the original one.
Oh, I've seen that.
Did I? I'm sure I sent it you. I can't... I've shown this that many people. I can't remember who I've sent it and who I haven't. And here's the zoomed in one.
Yeah. I'm not too sure what to make of that.
No.
Sure looks like a cheesy representation of someone's idea of what a dog man's supposed to look like. But when people do that sort of thing, I'm looking for shortcuts. Look at the leg structure. That's got hominid style legs instead of digitigrade style legs,
Yeah.
which would be so much more difficult to replicate. And then look at the proportions. The upper arm proportion is exactly what you would expect in relation to the forearm length for it to be a person in a costume. The arm length period in relation to the body is what you would expect for a person in a costume. Shoulder width, all of that. So I'm not
Yeah.
saying it's definitely a person in a costume, but it definitely
No.
could be.
Well, someone that I sent it to, a guy called Nigel Wright, I sent him and he looked into it and he studied cryptids for probably the last 100 years. And he says, so you've got the head and then what looks like a mane going over the back of the shoulders. That looks like it's a head costume, and that bit is going over the shoulders. So where the body part of the costume, where the link would be. So like Scooby-Doo, sort of, where they take the mask off and they've got, do you know what I mean? So that's why that's so heavy around the shoulders. But the legs themselves, they look like, for me, that looks like it's been painted. Whether it's CGI or Photoshop or something, the legs just don't, like from the knee down, the calf and the ankle, just doesn't look realistic enough.
Yeah, there are a lot of things about that just throw up red flags. So if I had to make a judgment, I don't think that's genuine.
No, I really wanted it to be real more than I wanted it to be real more than I knew it was going to be real. Just because of how it looks, but it looks woolly, like sheep squatch. It's not. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, sure. And understand, if that is like a 6 foot tall dog man, which, like I said, the legs are all wrong, the head's wrong for it to be a type 3. A type 3 is going to have hominid style legs. That's more of a canid style head, which would be on a canine type dog man, which a canine type dog man would have hocks and stifled joints instead of ankles and knees. So it just doesn't fit. But all that aside, if that was a legitimate dog man, the shoulders are way too narrow. I mean, that's just about a 6 foot subject, it looks like. And if that was a 6 foot tall subject, then the shoulders would be over 2 feet wide. You really can't find anyone, even the biggest bodybuilder, who's got shoulders that are wider than 24 inches. Ronnie Coleman, his shoulders, I can't remember what the specs were in his shoulders, but even Ronnie Coleman is pretty much the biggest bodybuilder who's ever lived. His shoulders at the widest would be 24, 25 inches, I'd say. But a dog man that height, its shoulders would definitely exceed that. So, I'm just not having it.
No, I agree with you on that. I was a bit.
Yeah.
I just wanted it to be real. That was it. That's it. I haven't got anything else.
And I wanted you to show Vic because his analysis was awesome. Like you broke out kind of leg joints it should have. This is the width. It's very like scientific. Why it's not a dog man.
How it should be.
Yeah.
How it will work and how it won't work.
Also, too, think about if you're going to fake something like that, how would you set it up? You're going to set it up so you had every advantage so that it was easier to fool people. Look at that totally black background from its waist up and how it's hard to make out much in the way of details on those blurred out legs and all that. Just so many things about it just scream hoax.
Yeah. There are other pictures, but it's going to take me too long to find them. So this apparently is from a trail cam that was set up by a farmer in Cannock, near Cannock Chase. He was having some goings on with some of his sheep and that. So he'd set this up, and there's 3 photographs. So there's that one like that. There's one walking, and there's another one where half of it's blurred. I think it's the top half, but the legs aren't. You can see a flatbed trailer with what looks like grain on it. It's all gravel on the floor. And then you can see what looks like part of a barn in the background. But so the light is coming from the top left. So the light is in the correct position to where it, excuse me, to where it's walking. So that's walking from left to right. But like you said, with the shadow, when you see the full picture, the shadow itself looks too short, but it is coming from a spotlight. So I don't know. But that's all I've got from. Does look like Alf, doesn't it?
A little bit.
Yeah. So that's all I've got from them photographs. There's nothing more to add to it.
It does look like Alf. You're right.
Yeah. So I don't know. I'm kind of gutted because now I truly believe it is fake. I think, yeah, the more I look at it, the more fake it becomes.
I'll put it to you this way. When you see a Dogman at that distance, well, I shouldn't call it that distance. When a Dogman occupies that much of the photo, you see how the subject here, we don't know what this is, probably just a person. It's probably Bert in a costume he rented from some cheap costume store. But anyway, if you notice how much of the photo Bert occupies, if you're looking at a real Dogman, you're going to know it. You will. I've seen them, and you're definitely going to know it.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. I'll take that one off now. I'm never showing this again.
Sorry.
Too humiliating. Oh, it's not that bad.
Oh, it's not your fault.
No, I just got sent it, so I just put it out there to see what everyone else thinks it is or could be. So
I think sometimes it's good to show the not valid pictures too, so you can point out why they're not valid.
Yeah.
Oh, sure. Yeah, no harm in that at all. Another good way to tell if what you're looking at is most likely genuine or not is the hair in the butt test. If you're looking at it and it occupies that much of the picture and you can get that good of a look at it, if the hair in your butt starts to stand up, then yeah, that's a really good indicator that you're looking at the real thing, the real McCoy there.
And it's time to go.
It's time to go. That's right. That's right.
That is a scientific test.
That's it. It cracks me up how so many times I've seen it said that Dogman can't be real because there is no good evidence. Well, that's a bunch of bunk because, there is evidence out there that's just amazing. It's just not put out there for public consumption and for good reason, too. If you have a good photo like that of a Dogman and you start posting it so the general public can see it, then your problems are just beginning. But there are photos and videos of Dogman that would just blow you away. I mean, just amazing. So, the evidence is out there. It definitely is.
Do you think that there's some kind of cover-up going on? Like, have they ever found a body and have mislabeled it as something else?
Yeah, there's a huge cover-up. Your government over there, or I guess you're in New York, but our government, Nicole, Andy's government, I mean, they'll do anything to keep their existence under wraps, and for good reason. Look at how poorly we handled a crisis like COVID. Okay, just imagine how people are going to handle it if one day our governments let it out of the bag. Oh, by the way, guess what? In a forest near you, there's a strong possibility you've got something that looks like a giant werewolf running around. If they let that out of the bag, it's going to be pandemonium. Think about how many items that we use on a daily basis that are harvested in the forest. Medicines, lumber. There's so many things, paper. I mean, there's so many things that we take for granted on a day-to-day basis. Pencils that to make them, the supplies are harvested from the forest. Well, if all of a sudden that secret's let out of the bag, that guess what? In a forest near you, there's every possibility you might have something that could be a 10, 11, 12 foot tall, something that looks like a giant werewolf. Well, if that's the case, who's going to want to run a noisy chainsaw all day for a shift or even longer when they can't hear anything behind them that's going on? You can't see what's going on behind you. who's going to want to work out there and harvest this timber? And also, too, on top of that, who's going to want to live anywhere near a forest when they know these guys are out there? And at nighttime, when they let Fluffy out, then this monster, quote unquote monster, could be out there in the backyard or come along. It would cause all sorts of problems. So, and the governments are smart. They know that. That would cause our economies to falter overnight. So, yeah, they will do anything in their control to prevent that from happening.
Yeah. So I've got one complaint for you, Vic, from Penny Van. I am a bit disturbed that Vic seems to assume that everyone has a hairy butt. All right.
Sorry about that, Penny.
It's fine. But I think just denying it, that's all. Moving on quickly.
Get it waxed.
Right. So I have found... So when Vic was on last time, I have spoke to you about this when I seen that Anubis-type creature. And that was over the east of England. And I've just found the nearest looking dog-type image that I could find that it looked like. So it's not an actual photo, it's someone's drawn it, painted it, or it's digital. But this is the nearest thing that I could find to it. And that's what it looked like.
Huh. Wow.
Oh, he's cute.
No, it wasn't cute. I locked my windows and my doors and put my foot down a little bit to get away. And it was just, the eyes were different. But you see how this is what I was trying to explain, the markings on it. So where it's got the tan markings, it's identical left and right. So if you straight down the middle, it'd be mirror image. But it was more, the neck wasn't as wide as that. The shoulders were right out and you could see all the muscles. But I could only see it down to the waist. As soon as it knew I could see it, it then just blink, gone, nothing there. But that's the nearest thing that I could get to it. The ears were right on top of the head rather than at the side. They weren't as big as that, but it was like that HD black and tan colour.
That indicates... Oh, I'm sorry.
No, sorry, go on.
If it was a Dogman you're dealing with the ears on top of its head like that, then that does definitely indicate it's more of a canine type Dogman than a type 3. Yeah. Type 3s tend to have their ears on the sides of their heads, and then a canine type on top.
Yeah, these were definitely on top. But it was like, it wasn't there. Then as we're going through, as I'm driving through, it was around November time. So all the trees with like just branches and that, and all bramble on the floors. There's very little green. And as I'm coming round this bend, going round to my right, that's where the edge of this wood started. The woods weren't very big, and it's the side of, there's a pig farm on the right hand side and a pig farm just before it. And as I'm coming round, it just stood out. The colours of it stood out in front of this tree, and that was, I think that was the main reason why I could see it. And as soon as I made eye contact with it, I got, it seen me, and then it just wasn't there. But the way it was stood, it was like, you get the presidential bodyguards where they're all just pure muscle. It was stood like it was protecting something. I spoke to me mate. It took me about 10, 15 minutes for me to process what I'd just seen. And I rang this guy up, and he's like, did you not get out? Did you not get out and go and have a look? Are you mad? Why would I want to do that? It'd be probably the last thing I ever did. So, no, I just kept going and carried on with work. It's like, I've been past there a few times since, not seen anything. I've stopped and took photos of the trees and the tree line and that. But I worked out, I was eye level to it as I'm coming round. The ground there was probably about half a foot, 8 inches higher than the road. And the height where I'm sat in the van to where that was, its eye level would, I'd say, was about 6 foot, 6'2". So to the top of his head, or the top of its ears, were probably about 6.5 foot, maybe a couple of inches taller, but nothing more than that. Between 6.5 and 7 foot.
Yeah, if that was a Dogman, that was definitely a young one, because they get a lot bigger than that. But understand too, the young ones are the ones that are a lot more likely to go out and get into stuff like that. The ones that are full grown, mature, they don't have any time for that. It's no different than when you live out in the country. Kids, they're going to go out and roam the forest all day and get into stuff. They're going to build forts and look for what they can get into. Adults don't do that. Same thing holds true with these guys. If you have an encounter with an adult, it's in almost every case, it's because you just ran into it or it ran into you and they just don't have any time for you.
Yeah, it was just the way that I was looking at it, then it wasn't there. But the main thing that caught my attention more than anything else was the eye color. It was like an orangey, green, like an amber green fluorescent color, but all mixed into one color. I've never seen that color before. I've not seen it since. So you like got an orange LED and a green LED and kind of blend the colors, but it sounds cheap. Blend the colors, but keep the colors separate at the same time. That's what color the eyes were.
Oh, sure. Yeah, I've actually seen that before. If you catch a dog looking at the right angle relative to you at nighttime with a certain amount of light shining into its eyes, you'll notice that color that you described. It's the tapetum lucidum, the membrane on the back of their eyes that reflects the light through. It amplifies their night vision. That does that.
Right. Well, this is the thing, though. It was about 11 o'clock in the morning, and it was a sunny day.
Oh, it was. The sun was up.
So it wasn't. Yeah, it wasn't even at night. It was just before midday or thereabouts.
Oh, yeah, that changes. And I'm not going to try and explain it away as being a dog either.
Oh no! I totally get that, because that first thing I thought was it the light, because on the van it has drive daylight, so when you turn the van on, the headlights come on automatic. So I was thinking, was it that bouncing back off it? But they were too low. They was like 3-4 foot lower than the height of its eyes. Probably about 3 foot, not 4. So it couldn't have been that. I was looking at, it was too shaded where the trees were, even though there were virtually no leaves, it was still shaded. So it's just, I don't know. But I've never seen that color before.
Huh. Yeah, strange. It happens.
Yeah.
Yep.
Did that make the hair in your butt stand up, Andy?
Yes, the whole body. It made me put my foot down and get out there as quick as I could.
Aha. See, I just verified for everybody in the live chat. Andy has a hairy butt. He just admitted it.
Did. Not anymore.
You heard it here.
I wasn't hanging about. But then I was thinking, was it around that area? Because you've got there's a pig farm that run probably for about a quarter of a mile on the opposite side of the road. And then just before it, there's another pig farm, which was about 200-300 yards in length. Not many houses about. It's only a little tiny village. And then I remember there's a garage, like, not for cars, but for fixing tractors and all that kind of stuff. Then about another 200-300 yards down the road, you come to a little village where probably about 10-15 houses, and then that's it. And then you're back out in the sticks again.
Perfect area for something like that.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. But like I said, I've been past since. I've not seen anything. I've not got out and had a look. I've parked up. It's really difficult because it's right on a bend, so you kind of have to drive into the field a little bit. So I've done that, parked up, and then leant out the window and took a few photos. That's as close as I'm getting to that spot.
I don't know. I think you should go back.
No, I'm good. Thank you.
Bring a dog.
I think I've got dog whistles as well. I actually bought some just in case.
Come here, Dogman. Come here.
No. I'm good. Vic. Has he gone?
No, he's just.
Oh, no, he's back.
I'm still here.
Right. We've got a couple of questions, but do you want to tell us about the encounters that you've had?
I've never had a Dogman encounter. I've had some Sasquatch-related experiences, but never a Dogman encounter.
Oh, do you want to tell us that one then before we go to the questions? Is that okay?
About my first Sasquatch experience?
Yes, please.
How much time you got?
How much do you need? Got all the time in the world.
I tend to get long-winded when I tell this experience.
Or have you been on Andy's show before?
One time. One time, so I'm indoctrinated. I know what to expect.
Yeah, just keep going and going and going. We'll get to 26 hours eventually.
That's right.
You never know.
This happened over 40 years ago. And basically, to set the table, I had a neighbor who lived on my street he was like the true essence of an outdoorsman. He really was. I mean, just ridiculous. You name it. And he had practically done it when it comes to camping, fishing, hiking, all that. And I used to go down there and sit on this man's couch so long, asking him to tell me story after story about these outings he's been on, because I've always loved hearing about stuff like that he would eventually pull out the newspaper and start reading it. That was my hint that I had outstayed my welcome. But I mean, he had story after story. He could just keep on going. Well, this was after years of going down there to visit with him. One day, just out of the blue, he was talking about something to do with the outdoors and experience, and he just jumps almost and says, "Oh, did I ever tell you about the time I got attacked by that bear?" What? Are you kidding me? No, come on now. He said, "Yeah, I was attacked by a black bear in Upper Peninsula of Michigan." You've got to be kidding me. So he goes and he leans back and he pulls up his pant leg. And then he goes on to explain, he's pointing at his calf, and you can see these tooth marks and all from the wounds after all those years, when it healed. You can see the tooth marks that would match a bear's jaws. I'm thinking, you've got to be kidding me. He was telling me how he had been deer hunting up there, stalk hunting, and all of a sudden he heard a sound in this pine forest where he was walking that kind of tipped off that he wasn't alone. So he just was listening. He froze and was listening, didn't hear anything. So he finally decided to drop down to the ground and look underneath the canopy of these white pines. Well, when he did, he saw this black bear that was doing the same thing. It was laying flat on the ground, looking underneath the canopy of the pines right at him. And as soon as it saw that he saw it, it charged him. It bowled him over, and then it came back and pounced on him, and he put his leg up to try to protect himself from it, and it bit on his lower leg. Some of its teeth went into one side of his calf, and the other ones reached around and went right in on the other side. Well, yeah, needless to say, I just could not get enough of this guy's stories. And he finally clicked in his mind, you know what? If you get your hunter's license, your hunter safety, you pass a hunter safety course and get your license to hunt deer, I'll take you to my farm. And his farm was just way out in the sticks. I knew about it because he had told me a lot of stories about things that had happened there. But he said, I'll take you out there to my farm for opening day of deer season, and I'll show you the ropes, and maybe you can get yourself a deer, which is kind of ridiculous because I've always loved animals so much. I'd be beside myself if I actually shot a deer. But anyway, I took the hunter safety course, and before you knew it, it was the day before opening day of deer season. So as promised, he drove me to his farm, and we got there, and as we're driving up this long lane, because his farm was literally in the middle of nowhere, this huge forest. Well, as we're driving up the lane to where the farmhouse was, I see that he has 2 bay horses. And the first one he came to, I forgot the name of that horse, but I said something about it, and he knew I loved horses even back then. Well, he said the horse's name or whatever and said, yeah, that's a good horse. And then the next one we came to, he said, now watch out. That's Red. Stay away from Red because he's dangerous. He will hurt you. He might even kill you. So, okay. Message taken. So we go in, unpack, get everything all settled or whatever. Next thing you know, it's the next morning. And yeah, we woke up like an hour or so before dawn. We had our breakfast, got ready, went out. And the story was, he told me that he was going to walk me a good distance in this direction away from the farmhouse. and he was going to just take me to this spot where I was going to just stay and hunt until he came back that evening on the way back to the farmhouse and got me, and I would just walk back to the farmhouse with him. Well, this place, like I said, I'm not doing it justice. It was literally in the middle of nowhere. I mean, I don't even know how long, if I got lost, how long I could have walked without coming across even a road. But anyway, the place was just almost nothing but hills and hollers, big hills, deep hollers. Well, after we walked for, I don't even know how long, but after we walked and walked and walked, we finally started coming down this holler, this huge holler. And we had gotten about halfway down it when he said, okay, this is your spot. Go ahead and lean up against this tree, which was a big oak tree, a huge oak tree. Lean up against this tree and remember everything I told you. And I'll be a few ridges over. So, yeah, this evening I'll come back through and I'll get you on the way back to the house. Have a good time. All right. So he took off and left. Well, I sat there, didn't see anything. Nothing was going on. Nothing was moving. And I guess it was around noonish or so, maybe, when all of a sudden I hear this loud horse whinny behind me. It sounded like it might have been 20 feet or so behind me. So I'm thinking, oh no, did Red follow us out here, all the way out here? And then by the time I had that thought, I hear this loud horse blow. If you know anything about horses, not only do they whinny, but they can't breathe through their mouths. The only way a horse can breathe is through its nostrils. That's why they're constantly doing minor blows like that. But if they really have something up their nostrils that they want to get out, they can do a blow that's really loud and really forceful. If you're not expecting it and you're close to them, it'll make you jump out of your boots. Well, I hear that coming from like 20 or so feet, maybe even closer behind me. And the volume made it totally clear. This could not be a human. There's no way. I'm a big guy. There's no way that I could even approach. I don't have anywhere near the lung volume to approach what I heard. What I heard had to belong to a creature that had lungs. This animal had to be 1,000 pounds. I'm not kidding you. Well, anyway, for a long time, I was thinking, okay, it must have been Red. But then again, when I started putting the pieces together, the slope that I was on in that hollow, that huge hollow, it was way too steep for a horse to try to navigate. And on top of that, there was so much leaf litter that I would have heard a horse coming from miles away, figuratively. But there's no way a horse could have gotten to within anywhere near 20 feet behind me without me knowing it. So you tell me, what else could it have been besides the Sasquatch? And then there was another experience I had not too long ago, about a year or two ago, when I saw what just might have been a Sasquatch. I was out in the country and there was this arching bridge that went over this little brook that I had parked on the other side of the brook, and on this long walk, I had walked up and over the bridge. And at the time, I turned around and was heading back to the truck. So there was a field, a green field on either side of where I was walking on the path that was grown up to about 6 feet in height. And yeah, it was about 6 feet tall. So I was barely able to see over the top of the weeds in this field. And I'm just looking around, looking over this way, over the field, and over that way. And then I look over in the direction of the bridge because I noticed motion. So as I look over that way, I see this black figure that is running up and over. It's an arching bridge, and it's jogging in a strange way up and over the bridge. And when I got to the top of the bridge, I could see its feet. It was plucking its feet. Yeah, plucking is the best way to describe it. It was plucking its feet as it jogged up and over this bridge in a way that it wouldn't make any sense for a human to jog that way. And looking at its head, it had a pointed head. It was either a person at the time. I remember thinking, okay, that's a person that's either got a sweatshirt on, a hooded sweatshirt on, and the front of it is kind of like the drawstrings are pulled tight around the person's face for some reason. It was a nice day out, which that just really wouldn't make sense. But I was probably a quarter mile away, maybe a little more. distant from it. So it's hard to make out many details, but it ran up and over the bridge in my direction. When it got to the bottom of the bridge, I could see that it was heading to my left, its right. And then when I got to where I could see, turn left and look right past the edge of that green field in the direction it had been going, I couldn't see it. I don't know where it went, but I think it was a Sasquatch I saw that day. But again, I don't know for sure, definitively, that it was.
Wow. Oh, does it not make you want to not go out anymore?
No,
not
at all. Not at all. I had another experience that is one of those, you tell me what it was if it wasn't a Sasquatch. Had another experience about a month or so ago, maybe just a hair over a month, where there's this big woods where I go for nice long walks. I'll walk miles by myself in this forest, and all by myself. And one day when I was doing that, I had just walked past this one other trail that branched off to the left in the direction I was walking. And I was about maybe 30 feet past it when all of a sudden I hear something crashing through the branches. So I turned around in time to see this walnut. It hit the ground. I heard it thump, hit the ground, and it rolled probably 10, 15 feet in the direction that I had just crossed. So I looked up into the branches, up into the canopy, and there were no walnut trees anywhere around. I didn't see any walnut trees, number one. There pretty much wasn't any breeze, number two. And even if there was a breeze, you tell me, on flat land, how could that walnut have flown through the branches of the trees around, hit the ground, and rolled 10 to 15 feet? It had to have been thrown. No one else was around. There weren't any squirrels in the canopy. I looked for squirrels. So you tell me, what was it if it wasn't a Sasquatch? I didn't see one, so I can't say it definitely was, but I'll pose that question. You tell me, what did that?
Oh, yeah. Do you think it was trying to get your attention? Or warn you away?
Oh, yeah. I don't know what the purpose was, but yeah, I definitely think it was trying to get my attention just to mess with me or something like that. But yeah, this is a big forest where Sasquatch are there, Dogmen are there. I try to go for walks through that area when I can. I love going out there, but it's something else. It really is.
Do you think that the Dogman and Sasquatches, they have like an agenda, or they're just kind of existing and people kind of wander into their way?
Not so much with Sasquatch. I think Sasquatch are just out there trying to make a living. And if you go out there and if the mood suits them, then they'll mess with you and do whatever. But with Dogmen, it seems like they will go miles out of the way to get a response out of you, to try and frighten you. And once they can see that you've been mortified to within an inch of your life, okay, I got what I wanted, move on. That's one of those things. Because of how they look, there's so many people who are convinced, and they listen to shows that, unfortunately for them, the mighty dollar is a lot more important than honesty. But they listen to so many shows that make up creepypasta stories where it's the mind-eating dogman that'll rip you apart as soon as look at you. These people listen to these shows, take these stories as being factual. So then now they believe that all dogmen are out to rip you apart as soon as look at you. Well, if that's the case, why is it that I've literally spoken with thousands upon thousands of Dogman eyewitnesses over the years, since I spoke with the first one in 2007, and the grand total of credible eyewitnesses who've ever told me about being intentionally harmed by a Dogman they encountered is 6 or 7. 6 or 7 out of thousands upon thousands. So, yeah, that clearly tells us that these guys are not wired to rip you apart as soon as look at you, because if that's how they were wired, then the numbers would not be what they are that I've been exposed to. Now, I'm going to qualify that, because every time I talk about this, you've got people who they get up in arms about that, and they say, well, Vic is saying that all dogmen are safe to be around, and he's trying to say dogmen don't attack people. I've never said that. You name whatever is out there, if it has teeth and or claws, then you are going to have instances where that example is going to attack people. But that's no different than horses, dogs, cats, pigs,
Yeah.
camels, goats. I mean, if you polled people,
Yeah.
thousands of people who have had direct interactions with horses, and asked them, okay, out of the 3,000 or 4,000 of you who have interacted with horses, how many of you have ever been intentionally harmed by a horse that you've interacted with? And you know that number of people who would raise their hand and say, I have, would be in the hundreds. Well, swap horses out with camels or goats or pigs. You name the animal. And that number is going to be in the hundreds. If, again, you're asking 3,000, 4,000 people who've had interactions with that particular animal. Well, if that number with dogmen is only 6 or 7, what does that tell us? As hard to accept as it might be, that tells us that if you have an interaction with the dogman, believe it or not, your odds of being harmed are a lot lower. They're markedly lower than if you interacted with a common animal that we all take for granted being out there.
Yeah.
Something to think about.
Yeah. And while you were saying that, I was just thinking that, because I listened to a lot of the accounts that you have on the Dogman Encounters radio, and like you were saying, a lot of people, they wouldn't be here now telling their encounter, because if a dog, with what people say and what dogmen are capable of doing, if they was going to do it, they'd just do it. I think they wouldn't be the messing about in between. They might play a bit, like a cat would play with a mouse or something like that, but like you said, there'd be a lot more people coming forward saying they've been attacked, or a lot more. I don't know what the thing is, but people going missing or people being found, like carcasses and all that of remains of a dogman attack.
Yeah. And some of these people that are found mangled, yeah, that might have happened at the hands of a dogman, because anything that's out there, horses, pigs, goats, people, you name whatever you want to pick, you're going to have deviant examples. So why should dogmen be any different? I've got no doubts that there are deviant dogmen out there that will harm you, will kill you if you happen to come stumbling along. But that doesn't stop me from going on my walks when I can. And, you know, like I said, it's a forest where Sasquatch clearly are, where dogmen are, and I still go on my walks and, wow, I'm still here.
Yeah.
If they were wired to kill you as soon as having the opportunity to do so, I wouldn't be here. So,
No.
Like I said, something to think about.
Yeah, definitely. There's good and bad in everything, like you said, animals, people, the lot. So, hand in hand, isn't it, really?
Yeah.
That's
what
right.
They say more people die from like getting attacked by cows than sharks. So like the creatures you think are really scary are probably the less likely to kill you.
I actually know a woman that was attacked by a cow and she broke both her hips and a leg.
Wow.
She lived on a farm, but it was like the barns were converted, so you have to go drive through the fields to get to the house. Anyway, she'd gone walking the dog, and she was walking around, and there's about 5 cows, and she'd been living there like 2 years, and these cows just charged her, and one of them just knocked her flying. She was in hospital for about 6 weeks.
Wow. You never know.
Person. I didn't think I'd ever meet anyone, so that's 100% straight away.
How many people have you met that have been attacked by a dogman?
None.
There you go.
Yeah,
Cow 1, dogman 0.
100% to 0% straight away.
That's right. Imagine that.
It's great.
Of course, the quote unquote experts will tell you, well, and they tell me all the time, well, Vic, you can't talk with the people who've actually been killed by dogmen. And that's true. But when you're talking about someone like me who's had thousands of conversations with people who are caught dead to rights by something that's so much bigger, so much stronger, so much faster than they are, has weapons of destruction like you wouldn't believe, the claws, the teeth, all that. It had them dead to rights. If it wanted to hurt them, it had every opportunity to do so. Those people were allowed to leave. So, I can appreciate the fact that, there have been people, I've got no doubts about it, there have been people who have been slaughtered by these guys, by these things. Yeah, I don't doubt that at all. But if they were so dangerous on a widespread basis, like I said, I wouldn't have spoken with thousands upon thousands of people who were allowed to leave an encounter without any damage being suffered.
Yeah, 'cause I was just going to say, because you hear about like people driving off when they've seen one, or they've slowed down to see what's going on. It started chasing them, and it's running alongside the car, and it's reached over to try and open the car door. Or you've had them where it's been on the property, and it's like trying to push the handle down to get in, but the occupants have locked it. And it's just little things like, if it wanted to get in, I'm sure it'd just walk through the glass or rip the door off and get you.
Exactly.
It's not going to do that to try and get in, is it?
They know how to push our buttons. Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, they don't need to reach in and try and pull the door handle on the car door. They could rip the door off if they wanted to. I mean, I've had credible eyewitnesses talk about being in a fifth wheel. And one case, the lady was in the fifth wheel and a dogman pushed on the side of this fifth wheel and it pushed up onto the wheels on one side. Just imagine the power to do that. You're talking about a 10, 15,000 pound travel trailer. So yeah, they're ridiculously strong. And I tell people, I've spoken with people who just, it's not their fault. Human nature is to blame. They've had an encounter with a dogman that live way out in the sticks, and I'll talk with them and find out that they've had an encounter 20 years ago and they still can't eat right. They can't function right. And then I'll ask them, well, you've been living there for 20 years without being harmed. And then they'll tell you, well, that's because I've taken measures to protect myself from them. Oh, really? So you've protected yourself from them. And that's why for the past 20 years, when you've been mowing the grass, when you've been just living here, doing whatever is required to live there, you haven't been harmed. Well, yeah. What do you do to protect yourself from these guys? Well, for example, Vic, I don't go into the woods after dark. And if I have to go into the woods, I only go on bright sunny days, Vic, and this and that. And then after they're all done running down the list, I explain, now look, these guys are seen on bright sunny days every bit as often as after night, after dark. And if they wanted to get you, these guys don't have to use doors. These guys don't need to use windows. They could come right through the wall if they wanted to get you. Yeah. You're no safer locked in your basement closet at 3 p.m. on a bright sunny day when it comes to these guys than you are blindfolded 3 miles out into that national forest you live next to at 3 a.m. If they want to get you, they're going to get you. But the fact they haven't gotten you, that's a testament to the fact that they don't want to harm you.
Yeah. Yeah. Totally agree on that.
Yeah. I gather you think dogmen are intelligent rather than more animalistic?
Well, they can be both at the same time. Animalistic to achieve a goal because they know how to press their buttons. They know when they're animalistic, that's going to push our buttons and get us more upset and everything. So they'll do what they need to do to push our buttons and get a response out of us. It's really no different than having an encounter with the Grinch. It really isn't. It's no different. The Grinch knew how to push the people's buttons in Whoville, and dogmen know how to push our buttons, that's for sure. So yeah, I mean, it's all how you look at it when it comes to coming to terms with your encounter with one of these guys. That's everything right there.
Now I'm thinking of dogmen in Santa suits stealing Christmas trees.
Yeah, paints a picture, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh, different outlook.
That'd be something.
Right. Got a couple of questions for you, Vic. So I'll do this one on. So I've not heard of this before. This is from Jojo, the moderator. What's Vic's opinion on the Beast of Seven Shoots pic?
I think that's a genuine picture of a Type 3. Type 3s have ears on the sides of their heads and have hominid-style legs the way a Sasquatch would, the way we do. They have knees, they have ankles instead of stifled joints and hocks, the way a canine-type dogman would. But yeah, the subject in that picture is holding a white dog. I think he's holding the white dog backwards where you see the dog's butt, if I remember right. Oh. But Yeah, it's holding a white dog, and I think the white dog is a pretty good sized dog. That should give you an indication on how big that subject is in the photo. But yeah, I'd say it's a legitimate photo of a Type 3.
Thank you. That's right. Nicole's just searching it. I knew she would. I can tell by her face now what she's doing. But, shall I put the image up on screen?
In case anybody else doesn't.
Yeah, I've not seen this before.
Yeah, me either.
1 second.
Well, you haven't.
No. I'd never even heard of it.
Me either.
Oh, can you? It's only giving me a WEP file.
Yeah, I can just.
I can't save it as an actual image, only as a hyperlink. Sorry.
Can you see it?
Oh, yes, right. There we go. So can you zoom in on that?
Did that zoom at all? I don't think so.
See, that's like a baboon type.
Oh,
The
there we go.
face. It's like...
Type 3s can have a baboonish looking head. They don't all look the same, just like canine type dogmen don't all look the same. But
No.
yeah, if you notice that turned down baboon type snout and the shape of its head, when you're talking about a bigger Type 3, that's how the bigger ones can look. And then it looks like the tail of the dog hanging down.
It looks like a mandrill. But I know they've got the blue snout, but that's all I can see like a mandrill type, but kind of human looking as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that one's just kind of zoomed in on its face.
Yeah. I've never seen that picture before.
No.
That wipes the floor with that thing from Cannock.
It does. Like, look at that. Look at that little doggy.
I think that's a fairly good sized dog.
Yeah, to say
All
what?
doggies are little doggies.
Say that's a Labrador size?
I think so. Yeah, poor dog.
That's a big creature that's holding it.
Mm-hmm. He's just bringing that dog home to make it his pet. That's what we're gonna go with.
Yeah. I wish.
That's the thought that we're gonna continue on with.
We're going to keep this one now, and we'll use this one, I think. That's just... I'm mesmerized by it.
No, look at his face. Like, you can see, like, the brow and the...
Yeah, it's very Sasquatch type, but you can see it's not a Sasquatch.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen some fairly good photos of that, better versions of it, cleaned up. And if I remember right, I think the subject looked to be about 8-9 feet tall.
Wow.
Yeah, because there's those trees around. You can't really tell how big they are, but
It's a way it's like, not camouflage, but blending into the background as well.
yeah.
That's what gets me on it.
And people have stood exactly where that subject was, just for reference.
Not seen it. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I thought you meant they were stood there and it'd been about. Well, that was one of the questions that I was going to ask you. So, when you see one like that, do you believe that the majority of the time there is only one, or do you think there could be two or more subjects watching?
Well, I'm pretty darn sure that Type 3s, just like canine type dogmen, are obligate carnivores. And if you look at how big they are, that means that their daily caloric requirements have to be met via protein sources, game that they dispatch. Well, if they stayed in one area, just one guy this big, if it stayed in one area for any appreciable amount of time, it's going to blow through all the resources in that area and have to move on. So if that's the case, if it's by itself, if you have multiples, it's just going to magnify that problem.
Yeah.
So it just wouldn't make sense for these guys to hang out in one area together for that reason. Now, Sasquatch are omnivores. They can get by on vegetation, on meat, you name it, fruits, vegetables robbed from gardens, you name it. But yeah, when you consider that these guys, every indication is that they're obligate carnivores, that just wouldn't make sense for them to hang out in numbers. Now, I'm sure they do obviously come together to mate and for whatever other reason, but I don't think they stay together all that long.
Makes sense.
Right. Oh, sorry. I was just going to ask. Do you want to go first, Nicole?
No, I was just going to ask Blue Shift's question because it kind
All
of
right.
related to
I'll
that.
just ask this one quickly, and then we'll do that one. So, do you, Vic, believe that these are some government hybrid, or is it a natural living creature that maybe the government have become into contact with and turned into a hybrid, or a little bit of everything?
Well, you can't explain away their existence by saying that they're just created by the government. Yeah, you might have Dogmen running around today that were made in a test tube, but how do you explain the ones that were seen in the 1800s even?
Yeah.
I mean, there's no way we could have done that back then. So you might have naturally occurring dogmen, and then also ones that were made in a test tube in a government lab someplace. But you can't explain away their existence by saying, okay, yeah, this is just a case of these guys being made in a laboratory someplace. You can't do it.
No, I get that. I know it's a tricky question, isn't it? Because a lot of people do believe that they are, like you saying before, organic weapon, like splicing and all that kind of stuff. But you've got to have some. I do believe you've got to have some natural. What's it called? Origin. It can't just come from like you said, made in a test tube.
That's right. Some might, but not all of them.
No. Do you want to?
Question from Blue Shift. Question for Vic. Talk me/us through the type 1, 2, 3, etc., please.
Well, this whole type 3 thing, because the only type of cryptid that's called a type anything with a numeral after it would be a type 3 that's considered to be by some a dogman. The whole type 1, type 2, type 3 thing was basically a classification system that was created by Tim Coonbo Baker years ago as a way of explaining what type of Sasquatch he was talking about at any particular time. Well, as the way he puts it, a type 1 looks like Patty from the Patterson-Gimlin film. Type 2s are smaller normally with more rounded heads instead of having the pronounced sagittal crest the way a type 1 would have. And they tend to be ornerier, more prone to mischief than what type 1s are. Well, type 3 dogman, some people for a long time, they called them type 3 Sasquatch. Well, they can't be a kind of Sasquatch. You saw that photo just now of the Beast of Seven Shoots. It's understandable why, at first glance, the uninitiated would think, okay, well, that's a type of Sasquatch. Well, there are reasons why it cannot be a kind of Sasquatch. Sasquatches, they obviously have fingernails. They have fingernails and they have toenails. Well, that right there is a quality that only an ape has. Only a primate has fingernails or toenails. Well, dogmen, whether you're talking about canine types or type 3s, they all have claws on the tips of their fingers and claws. Look at Nicole. She's drawn right in. She's interested. No, but yeah, canine type dogmen, type 3 dogmen, they always have claws on the tips of their fingers and toes. Well, that right there is a disqualifying anatomical feature for them possibly being a Sasquatch, because all Sasquatch have fingernails and toenails, like I said. Another disqualifying anatomical feature these guys have, both canine type dogmen and type 3s, is the fact that every tooth in their heads is sharp. Every eyewitness who's ever gotten a close enough look to tell what type of teeth they have will tell you every single tooth was sharp. Well, with primates, the canine teeth, the upper and lower canines, are sharp. Everyone knows what they are. But the teeth behind them, called the post canines. They're always flat, like ours. Well, that's not the case in either type of Dogman. Like I said, every single tooth in a Dogman's head, whether you're talking about a canine type or a type 3, is sharp. So, yeah, that's where this whole type 3 came from. There is no type 1 Dogman. There's no type 2 Dogman. There's only a type 3 Dogman. Now, I'm not going to say that type 3 Dogmen, like the Beast of Seven Shoots, are canids. They're clearly not. That's just a name they were stuck with. Dogman is just an appellation that was hung on them. There are a lot of people, especially in the South, who, if you ask them about Dogman this, Dogman that, well, the Beast of Seven Shoots, that's what they consider to be a Dogman. A lot of them don't even know about canine type Dogmen. So, yeah, it's just a name that was hung on them. It doesn't define what they actually are. Again, they're not canids. I can tell you what they're not. They're not a Sasquatch, but I can't tell you definitively what they are. So that's the whole story on this type 1, type 3, type 2 thing.
Do you think Dogman and Sasquatch are related in some way or completely separate species?
No, I don't think they're related, but maybe extremely way down the road, distantly related. I mean, bears are related to dogs in pigs. It just depends on how far back you go in their lineage. How far do you have to go back to actually reach a common point where the divergence occurred? So, yeah, I mean, they're related, but if you look at a bear, look at a dog, look at a pig, all three are quite a bit different, even though they all came from a common ancestor. Now, their adaptations, it just kills me when people try to explain away that type 3s, they just might be born with claws instead of fingernails and toenails. No, it just doesn't happen that way. Nature can have variances where this animal can be born with blonde fur, even though the mother and the father have black fur. You have a variance that can happen like that, but the DNA required to cause a variance like, okay, let's see, our species normally has fingernails and toenails, but this baby's born with claws, it just doesn't happen. That just does not happen because that would require way too much of a shift in the DNA strand. So, I can appreciate people wanting an easy explanation to explain away type 3s. It's just being a kind of Sasquatch that, well, maybe some time ago, this baby Sasquatch was born with claws, and that's how this whole type 3 got its start. No, it just doesn't work that way.
No, thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Did have a question. It's completely gone. So I'll do this one from Joe. And she's asking, does Vic think that the powers that be are making hybrids?
Making hybrids such as, does JoJo think that Dogmen are hybrids or
do you think that they're making hybrids like super soldiers type?
I wouldn't be surprised. I'd say we definitely have the technology, and I think we definitely have the means to do that. Now, is there a will? Well, you've got governments that are looking for any advantage they can get, so I wouldn't put it past any of the governments out there to do that. Of course, surreptitiously, they're not going to be in your face doing this sort of thing, but behind closed doors, I wouldn't put it past any of the governments out there to do that.
Elaine said, Vic, you explained things so well. Thank you.
Well, you're welcome. Thank you.
And I have to agree. Like, it's very broken down and clear so that everybody can understand it, even if you're not super into the whole Dogman phenomena.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Totally agree.
Another thing that just gets me, it's not their fault, but it's such a common thing where eyewitnesses will grossly underestimate the weight of these guys when they tell me, when I'm asking for details. Okay, what did you experience? And then they tell me about their experiences. How tall do you think it was? How much do you think it weighed? And some will go on to tell you, I'd say this Dogman was about 9 feet tall, maybe 10 feet tall, and it must have weighed at least 600 pounds. And it's not their fault. They don't realize they don't know how to estimate weight accurately, but it's a really common phenomenon when it comes to eyewitnesses trying to estimate the weights of cryptids like Sasquatch or Dogmen. There is a scientific principle called square cube law, and square cube law states that if you double the size of an object and keep the proportions of that object the same, then that's going to multiply the weight. Look at Nicole. She's getting interested again. It's just drawn. If she was sitting any closer, Andy, she'd be sitting behind me.
She might be. You don't know.
No.
Dogman.
That's funny, but no, square cube law states that if you double the size of an object but keep its proportions identical, then that's going to multiply its weight by a factor of 8. To set this up as a simple example, if we take a cube of wood of a given density, so that that cube is 1 foot wide, 1 foot front to back, 1 foot tall, and let's say that that cube with that given density of wood of, say, oak, it's going to weigh 100 pounds. Well, if it's 1 foot tall, 1 foot wide, 1 foot front to back, and you double its size, now it's 2 feet tall, it's 2 feet wide, it's 2 feet front to back. Well, if you took a saw and were able, or a laser, and you had to cut that 2 foot by 2 foot by 2 foot cube into 1 foot cubes, if you did that, then you would now have 8 1 foot by 1 foot by 1 foot cubes. 8 times 100, 800. So yeah, you just took a 1 foot by 1 foot by 1 foot cube that weighed 100 pounds. If you double its size, keeping everything proportional, now its weight has multiplied by a factor of 8. That works with anything. Again, like I said, if you keep everything in proportion. Now, it's not apples to apples, but a good way to highlight that, the way that works is male Great Danes. They can come in at 3 feet tall at the withers, and at that size be roughly 200 pounds. Well, a light draft horse can be 6 feet tall at the withers, and the proportions of a Great Dane aren't identical to a horse, but they're fairly similar. Well, a 200-pound Great Dane at 3 feet at the withers compared to a light draft horse, like a Frisian, for example, that's 6 feet tall at the withers. Well, it's not uncommon for a Frisian to weigh, guess what, 1,600 pounds.
Yeah.
1,600 divided by 8, see what I mean? 200 pounds.
Yeah.
So again, they're not proportional. They're not identical in proportions from the Great Dane to the Frisian, but it works. I mean, if you do keep things exactly in proportion, it definitely does work.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I've heard that theory before, because it's something so big, and you've got to think of the weight of if it's muscle, because there are not going to be many chubby ones, is there? Really?
No.
It's because they're out and they're eating the correct foods like we don't. Yeah, yeah. So they're getting all the fiber, the protein, everything that they need, that the body knows what they want. So it is pretty much, it's a solid structure. So with the weight comparison, it's got to be at least 4 times what you think it is, at least. Definitely.
Yeah.
Oh, sure. And whether you're talking about a Dogman or a Sasquatch, they're a lot more robust than what we are as humans. Take a 6 foot tall Sasquatch or a 6 foot tall Dogman, they're much more robust. So if you ramp up their size to 10 feet, or a 12 foot Dogman, a 12 foot Sasquatch, they're going to weigh even more than 1,600 pounds.
Oh, yeah. You're looking about 3,000, don't you? At least.
A lot of weight.
Yeah. Wouldn't like to get a slap from one of them.
Yeah, muscle weighs more than fat, so they're just built.
Yeah, and more powerful.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it just makes so much more sense when you put it like that. It really does. Right, I've remembered my question and I've wrote it down just in case.
Good job.
So this is what, and this is I always think about it when I hear about like dogmen. Is a dog-headed people. So, do you get or have you had many reports of dog-headed people? Now, the only one I know was of the guy who was driving the car. I think it was a police officer, and he's going around the corner, and he sees these 3 dog-headed people, and they're smoking, and they see him, and then they run off in the opposite direction. But they've got like human bodies from the neck down, but a dog's head. But I can't remember where it was or the year, anything like that. No idea.
That was on episode 344 of Dogman Encounters when Marvin Allen came on and he shared that experience that had been shared with him.
Right.
That's where you heard it.
Yes. So what is your
watch that episode when you're finished here?
So what's your take on that then, Vic?
I'm not really sure what to think of that. I mean, if you get into this for any period of time, you're probably going to hear all this talk about the cynocephaly. Some people say kynocephaly.
Yeah, Joe's just put it in the chat.
People have asked me if I think that dogmen are just cynocephaly. Well, understand, cynocephaly, they had hominid-style legs. They didn't walk in a digitigrade fashion. They walked plantigrade with their heels on the floor, on the ground. So, yeah, they definitely couldn't be a canine-type dogman. If anything, they were what we would consider to be type 3s. But St. Christopher, it's believed that he was a cynocephaly.
Yeah.
But I don't really know what to make of all that. I'm not really sure what to make of this whole cynocephaly stuff. I don't. But that's the only case. Marvin Allen, when he came in on the show and talked about that one case of the police officer pulling that car over and everyone in the car had dog heads, that's the only case I can remember being shared with me where someone reported that. I can't recall of any other ones.
Well, that's the only one I know. And that's why I can remember a lot of the detail to it. Because I've not heard of any other. It's just strange how there's just that one. And obviously it's a credible person that's put the report in, with it being like a copper. Not sure what we're called then. Do you know what I mean? You wouldn't report something like that. But then there doesn't seem to be anything else previous or after. It's just an isolated incident. It's just very, very odd. But it reminds me of them pictures, and I don't know if you had them in the US, of the dogs playing pool. So it's like dogs. My auntie used to have them in the house. And that's all I think of is when I hear that story, these pictures up on my auntie's. Well, they'd have them in the pubs, like around the pool table and that, and like the dog sat down drinking.
Playing cards, playing pool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're doing all like the casino games, I suppose.
Yeah, I've seen that before. And to answer Nuki Brown's question in the chat, oh yeah.
Yes.
If anybody missed that question, researchers get too close to the truth, will they be shut down? Yes, they will.
Definitely. There have been people who have gotten too close to the truth, or they've put things out there that they shouldn't have put out there, and unfortunately, they're no longer with us now. There's one that comes to mind that I actually tried to warn against coming forward with information. I tried to warn them, look, if you do this, it's not going to be in your best interest to do this because the government does not want things like this to be put out there. And I don't know for sure that that's why they're no longer with us, but I mean, I've noticed a pattern where it's been done. That person passes away. This has been done. That person mysteriously dies. It's not like they died due to unknown causes. No, in almost every case, the cause of death is cancer or a violent death. So maybe there isn't foul play, but I mean, there have been a bunch of instances where this sort of thing has happened that I've noticed.
Yeah. And it goes across the whole paranormal table, not just like Dogman, Bigfoot. It's got like aliens, UFOs. Can't think of anything else. Who'd have thought?
Everything.
Yeah, everything. It's just everything. He's just, yeah.
So this question is interesting from Baby with a Laser. Have dog women ever been reported? The description always seems to be male.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I've had several shows where guests came on and they reported seeing pronounced mammary glands. And yeah, it's definitely been reported multiple times. Kirk Stokes, a very good Dogman researcher, he was out in the sticks one day and he was just doing his thing when all of a sudden he heard this loud thump come from not too far away from him. And he turned and looked, and here this female Dogman must have been up in a tree, and it bailed out of the tree and landed with a loud thud, and it just headed out away from him. So yeah, people see them. They do.
What I was just going to say, what about the ones that people don't see? I'm not saying it is a Dogman. I'm not saying it's anything, but they'll be walking through a forest or a woods or on a bridle path, and they'll hear something drop out of a tree, and there's something stood right in front of them, but they cannot see it. Do you believe they're Dogmen, or do you believe that could be pretty much anything?
It could be anything. I mean, reputable people have reported seeing Dogmen cloak or step out of what they say were portals and everything, just like with Sasquatch. So it could be a Sasquatch, it could be a Dogman, it could be something else. Yeah, I can't really put it in a box as far as what the limits of what it could be are. It could be anything.
Yeah.
So on the topic of women, dog women, Grasshopper wants to know how many mammary glands. Do they have 6 like a dog?
Well, it's varied. I think I can remember some cases where credible eyewitnesses, have reported seeing 8 or 6. Some credible eyewitnesses have reported seeing just 2 pronounced mammaries, like you would on a woman. But it's varied. Understand, when it comes to mammary glands, though, a little known fact about that is amongst mammals, and that's why they're called mammary glands, amongst mammals, if you count the mammaries on that female example of whatever species you're talking about, if you didn't know anything about the species, if you multiply that number times 2, that would be a very good indication on how many offspring on average. It's not a hard and fast rule, because you take, sometimes women will have twins. Sometimes if you're talking about animals, dogs or cats will have varying numbers from a litter. But on average, if you multiply the number of mammaries on that species, that'll tell you how many offspring on average that particular species will have. So yeah, women, I'm sorry, you divide that number by 2. If you divide that number in half, that'll tell you the average number of offspring. Women normally have 1 baby. They can have twins, they can have septuplets even. But normally women have 1 baby when they give birth. Dogs, different species will have different numbers of mammaries. But yeah, with dogs, you can count their mammaries. And normally on average, that particular species, if you divide their mammaries in half, that'll tell you what the average number of offspring will be. So with dogmen, technically, if they are flesh and blood, the same thing should hold true. So if you see a dogman with 8 teats, then normally you would expect that particular type of dogman or dog woman to have 4 offspring on average.
Yeah.
Oh,
Thank you.
Litter of dogmen babies.
No, you can keep them. You keep them there. I'm good. Yeah, because you won't stay babies for long, and then they'll try and eat you. So.
It's like the lion that they hand rose and then released out into the wild.
Yeah. Oh, there's loads of that.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Got 2 more questions. Is that all right, Vic?
Sure.
Right. So this one's from Derek. It's easy to say his real name than try and he changes it all the time. I'm sure he does. Question: can Vic speak of any other cryptids he's researched outside of Bigfoot and Dogman? Or accounts that you've taken, as the case may be?
Well, on my paranormal experience, I've had people come on to talk about skinwalker encounters, rake encounters, encounters with other cryptids, several of the cryptids. One lady, I forgot the episode number on my paranormal experience, but this lady was driving down a highway in Florida and reported to me that she saw a 9-foot tall, jet black cat man walk across the road. So, yeah, on my paranormal experience, as far as cryptids go, anything goes. We've had all sorts of different cryptids reported on episodes of the show where people come on. And it's a true story time format where the guests can just sit there and they'll tell you step by step. They'll walk you through their experience with all these strange cryptids and ghost experiences and other things like that. UFO encounters, alien abductions, you name it.
Yeah, I've been on twice. And the first time I went on, I think I said to Vic, I don't think you can talk for like 2 hours straight. Blew it. Absolutely blasted it. Second time, I don't think was as long, but it wasn't far off. So yeah,
you did well. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, no, thank you for asking me. I enjoyed that. Thank you.
Last question is from Elaine. Vic, those who have come forward, how do you know who's genuine?
For the eyewitnesses who contact me, if they tell me that they had an encounter that was closer than a certain distance, then yeah, depending on what happened to them and what they told me happened, I can really do a good job vetting them, because they're going to notice certain things that only a genuine eyewitness who experienced an encounter at that range would know. It's not something you're going to make up. Perfect example on episode 34. Well, actually, he came on episode 35 too, but the first episode he did, Michael Lawrence was a guest, the eyewitness. He came on episode 34 and talked about his Dogman encounter in the Anza Borrego Desert in California. And that's the encounter where this, what would appear to be a juvenile dogman and a full-grown dogman, probably its mother, came walking towards where he was camping out in the desert with his Boy Scout troop. And then next thing he knew, to his horror, the zipper to his tent started opening. And then he said this juvenile dogman, it crawled into his tent with him, sat down on his legs, and then licked his face. Well, when I read his report and I'm reading all this, I'm saying, okay, yeah, I definitely need to vet this guy, because that sounds so over the top. So I scheduled a conversation with them, a phone conversation. And after we introduced ourselves and everything, we got down to brass tacks. Well, I basically let him sit there and explain to me word for word what happened to him, what I do with every eyewitness. And then after he had walked me through all of his encounters, because he'd had more than one, bless you, Nicole.
Thank you.
You're welcome. After he had walked me through all of his Dogman encounters, and that's why he had to come on episode 35 too, to walk us through everything. But I got down to brass tacks, and I'm thinking, okay, now I really need to vet this guy. So I started asking him questions that only someone who had a Dogman that close to him or her would know the answers to. And it was just like me asking you what the color of your hat is, Andy. He just lobbed the answer back. No hesitation.
Yeah.
Bam. Here's the answer. Wow. Okay, well, if that's the case, then what about this and this? Instantly, just like I was asking Nicole what the color of her shirt is, instantly the answer came back. The correct answer. I'm saying, you know what? This is an over-the-top encounter, but this guy is the real deal. This must have happened, because for him to know these answers, he was definitely within that distance of a Dogman. So after that episode aired, it's hilarious. I had all these experts putting their 2 cents out there. How could you let a liar like this on your show? You really need to vet your eyewitnesses better, Vic. Shame on you, and blah, blah, blah. And I'm laughing because they don't know what they're talking about. This guy is the real deal.
Yeah. No, I remember that one. Because when you said about the juvenile, I thought that's one that goes in the tent and starts licking him. And it's like, yes, even I remembered. But that one fascinated me, because did it come back as something? Or did he have an encounter with what he believes was the same one, but later on?
No, I don't think he did.
Something else?
Yeah, it must be someone else.
Yeah. No, but I definitely remember the one where he enters his tent. So I was thinking, if that was me, I don't know, I'd just lie there and die.
Yeah.
I won't be able to do anything else.
And such level of detail, and the details not changing. I mean, either it's true and it happened, or they really, really believe that it happened.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. That's another thing that I'll listen for. Do the details change? And yeah, that's another thing to look for. And same thing with him. The details stayed the same. They never did switch.
Yeah. No, that's good. Definitely. Was that the question you've just asked? Those who come forward, yeah, you've done that one, haven't you?
Yeah.
Right. Well, I want to say a massive thank you to Vic for coming on. Absolute pleasure as always.
Oh, glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
Well, all right, it's been too long since you was on last time, and I do apologise. Just been busy trying to get things sorted and moving forward and what have you, rather than getting stuck in a rut, so to speak.
And trying to wrangle all his co-hosts.
Yes. Get them to turn up. And then when they do turn up, I get caught slagging them off. No, I didn't.
Uh-oh.
Messing about. No,
got him in trouble now.
I know. It's fine. It'll be fine. Thank you, Vic, so much for coming on. Absolutely appreciate it.
Oh, you're welcome. It's been fun. And anytime you want me back, just let me know.
Oh, definitely. So for those who come in late, slap wrist, Vic has got a few different channels on YouTube. The main one is Dogman Encounters, My Paranormal Encounter, and you say the other one's My Bigfoot Encounter?
No, it's Dogman Encounters Radio, My Bigfoot Sighting, Bigfoot Eyewitness Radio, and then My Paranormal Experience.
Yeah. See, I knew I'd get it wrong. Even if I'd have wrote it down, I'd have got it wrong, so I do apologise. But no, massive thank you for coming on. Thank you, Nicole, for joining. Obviously, Tommy's not here because he doesn't do Wednesday. He don't do Fridays. He don't do any day, does he?
Because he has a birthday. And Sarah's working on her fake tan today.
Yeah. So on Friday, it's going to be a bit different of how we're running the show. So pretty much Nicole is going to run it. Nicole is going to be on with Michelle Gray. I'm going to be out, fingers crossed, so far so good. I'm going to be out and about on location with other people, depending. If not, I'll be out and about on my own. Either way, it doesn't matter. Then on Sunday, you're going to love this, Nicole. We've got Michaela Ford coming on, who does Paranormal or What podcast. Mm-hmm. Now, are you ready for the details on this? Sorry about this, Vic. So it's at 5 p.m. UK time, 12 p.m. EST. Are you okay to do this?
Possibly.
Right. This is the best bit. I am at a birthday party.
Oh my gosh.
But I'm not going to do a Tommy. I'm taking my iPad with me. So I'm going to drop everyone else off from home at the party. The party starts at 5:30, so I'm going to drop them off at 1:45, drive around the corner and do it from the car, and then go to the party afterwards. It's only on for an hour. So I no excuses for birthday parties anymore. If I can do that, everyone else can.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. So that's that. And then just a quick update for next Wednesday might be different, but on Friday the 19th, we've got Eric Wood coming back on. Oh, just Eric Wood, who does Paranormal Highway. Not Doctor Who, because I've not asked him, and he wouldn't mind anyway, so that's it. And on the 24th, we've got Jim Segala coming on, who was part of Skinwalker Secrets of Skinwalker Ranch, the TV show. So, and then the following Friday, you're not here, but it's the Encrypted Table. that's it for now. So, yeah, thank you again, Vic. Absolute pleasure.
Thank you.
Hopefully you'll be back on again soon.
Love to. It's been a great time. Thanks for having me.
No, thank you for coming on, and thank you, Nicole, for co-hosting, and thank you for the however many mods I've got in the chat, keeping it going and getting the questions coming through. So that's it from us. Have either of you got anything to add before we end this now?
No, I think I'm good.
Excellent. Right, so on that note, I'm going to shoot off. We'll see you Friday at 8:30. Oh, I am going to be doing a quick update tomorrow about what's going to be happening on Friday. So I'm going to do that mid-afternoon. So it's just going to be like a 20-minute stream, and that's it. So other than that, see you on Friday 8:30. Don't be late. Take care and goodbye.
Goodbye.